Hey, computer engineering noobs. This is Mr. Stone again, teaching you more about virtual machines. Let's get cranking right away. Let's go to the Start menu and open up VMware Workstation 12 Player. Again, if it's not right there, choose All Programs and go to VMware. Choose it from that section. What we're trying to do in this video is we're going to go ahead and use our virtual machine we've already created, and we're going to install an operating system on it. If you'll recall, a couple of videos ago, we actually used an ISO to create a bootable flash drive. Now we're going to use that same ISO to actually install a virtual machine. So let's go open up a virtual machine. Here's one right here, Windows 10 x64 P-Stone. Let's go ahead and play that and see what happens. Click. Cannot connect to the virtual device. We talked about that before. Yes, anyway. And sure enough, it's booting to the network hard, which means it doesn't have a proper hard drive thing to boot to. Well, let's solve that problem. We need to give it something to boot to. So we're gonna go to player here, and we're gonna tell this thing to power off, shut down that guest OS, and let's see what happens. Are you sure you want to power off? Yeah, we're sure. Okay, there goes the VMware player. Gonna go grab it again. We're going to make some slight changes so that we can actually make this thing boot to an ISO. All right, so we've got this guy launched again. Now instead of double clicking or clicking play virtual machine, we're going to either click here or right click and say settings. Here we're going to tell the CD drive that there's not really a CD drive here, so go find an ISO image file instead. So from here, we're just going to browse to where the ISO image file is. For most of you guys, that's going to be the root of your C drive here. For me, I've got them on my striped RAID array, and I've got it in a folder I believe called Windows 10 Multi Edition. Sure enough, there it is. And again, note that it's an ISO file, so you double click, and it accepts that setting. Now we click OK, and then it's ready to boot. And let's watch what happens here. Okay, a little bit different response this time. The virtual printing feature is globally disabled. Whatever. That means it's trying to print to, or it's trying to connect to a printer that my physical computer has, but it can't do it. That was really quick and easy, right? We simply pointed it to the ISO for Windows 10, and now it's doing the Windows 10 installation. Let's walk through that pretty quickly. This is the entry screen, just asking us for the right language and keyboard inputs. We'll click next. Note that my cursor is still available to my host machine. If I want it to be on my guest machine, I've got to click in the screen, and now my cursor is available on the guest OS only. If I want to return to my computer, I've got to do Control A to get it back to my host machine. Hit next. Then we say install now. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to have to take note of is that this thing looks kind of scrunched in some situations. If that's a problem for you and you're not happy with that, you can go full screen with it, or you can just hit the maximize button. We don't have a product key in this case. We're just doing a temporary install to have fun with virtual machines. Let's say we're just evaluating an operating system like Windows 10. We hit skip, and then it says, what do you want to install? We'll say Windows 10 Pro. All right, from there it's like, do you agree to the license? Sure we do. It's just a temporary installation. Now we're not upgrading because this is basically a blank virtual machine, so we're going to choose custom. Notice that it says drive 0 is all unallocated space, and look at 60 gigs. That's how much we gave it originally when we created our virtual machine. Now we hit next, and it's going to go ahead and do what Windows does. It copies the Windows files from the ISO, and then it extracts those ISO files, and then it begins installing all the necessary features. Now I think this next step is going to take several minutes, so I'm going to save you guys from that and watching the video. I'm going to pause the recording and catch back up with you guys when this hits around 98 or so. So we're back finally with the Windows installation. You can see the files are ready. It's installed some features and it's installing updates. I think you're going to see that it's going to go ahead and finish up here in a few seconds and it will restart. You can force it to restart or you can wait on it. I think I'm going to go ahead and force it. Just speed up the process by a few seconds. At this point in time, it should choose to boot to the hard drive as opposed to the CD drive. It should stop trying to boot to the CD drive as soon as the hard drive has an operating system on it. So we'll know in just a second if that is the case, because if it goes right back to the Windows installer, meaning it says, hey, welcome to the Windows installer, would you like to install in English? Then you know that it's booted back to the CD drive or the ISO image. However, if it boots into the Windows installer desktop, which is what it looks like it's about to do, you will see some more. There you go. You'll see some things like getting devices ready and preparing your desktop and those kinds of things, which tells us that it's actually trying to boot into Windows. This is pretty exciting. I believe at this point in time, it's just basically making sure that the drivers are in the right places and that it has the right drivers for the right hardware. So um, I would imagine on the classroom machines, it's going to take a few minutes more. You'll have a little bit less RAM to work with. You'll have a little bit fewer CPU cores to work with. And that's going to cause your installation to slow down a bit. You can see on this recording that it's a bit laggy too. So you got to realize you're running a guest operating system. This is a virtualized piece of hardware. So it's your real hardware with a layer in between itself and the software. So you got your real hardware as the base layer. That's your host operating system. And then you've got your guest hardware, which is your virtual machine, as the middleman. And then you've got your software. And you might think, well, man, Mr. Stone, that's an extra layer of stuff. We don't really want extra layers of stuff if we want things to be fast and efficient. Well, you're right about that. But remember, we're not going about looking for fast and efficient here. What we're looking for, and I should say this, fast and efficient may come later when you have more hardware. You can also have virtualization and be fast and efficient. But the key to virtualization, the reason you want to virtualize, is so you can do things on a Windows machine that you wouldn't normally be able to do on a Windows machine, or do things on a Linux machine that you wouldn't normally be able to do on a Linux machine, or do things on a Windows 10 machine using Windows 7 or Windows XP software. So those kinds of things are what virtualization enables us to do. Looks kind of dull and boring right now. We just got a black screen. I'm going to go ahead and bet that you'll see a change here in just a few seconds. There it goes. The machine just rebooted. And we're back to that same little spinning icon. And you'll probably get a different message this time. But this is installation. Keep in mind that this installation is probably going to take somewhere around 20-25 minutes, where a Windows XP machine, a quick Windows XP installation, would have been somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 minutes. And the average Windows XP installation was probably more like an hour or an hour plus. So they've done a lot to bring us to a much quicker installation. Here we go with some customization stuff. Do be a little bit aware here. Don't choose express settings. It's going to get you into some stuff you don't really want. Go to customize, and on this piece right here, send typing and inking data to Microsoft to improve this stuff. This is up to you. I'm not really into allowing people to track my information in all cases. In some cases, it's good and it can help the software developers make better software. But in some cases, they're just kind of being too intrusive. So you got to make those choices wisely. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn these off, just because I think it's going to make my experience more like what I want. For browser protection, I'll leave that stuff on. I do want it to kind of predict what I'm doing. I don't want it to automatically connect to hotspots, and I don't want it to automatically connect to networks. Now, for sending error information to Microsoft, absolutely, that's all anonymous information. So it looks like it's going to ask us about creating a user account now. And with Windows 8, it forced you, or it seemed to force you, to create a, excuse me, a Microsoft user account. meaning that you had to create an online account in order to log into your computer. There was a way around that if you looked at the menus carefully. Um, but with Windows 10, it appears you can just go back to creating a local user account. And I think I'm going to pause the recording at this point in time, let it get past these updates, and then join you guys again when the updates are complete. So it finished this stuff about updates, and now it's asking me, how do I want to log into my computer? And this is an online Active Directory domain, and this is a user maintained domain. And when I say user maintained, I mean a company maintaining their own Microsoft network. I'm not exactly sure which one to choose here. I'm going to try this bottom one and see what happens. If you plan to join your PC to a domain, we'll help you set up a local account now. When setup is finished, join the domain as you have in the past. This is exactly what I want. I want a local account now, so that's what I'm after. I'm going to hit next. Okay, so who's going to use this PC? We'll just say, P-Stone. There we go. That'll work right there. You can put a password in if you want to. You really don't have any need to. It's just a virtual machine for testing. Hit next. And that should finish things up and bring us to the desktop. When you get to the desktop, I would hope that you would do everything you can to play around and have fun and experiment with Windows 10 as much as you possibly can. Keep in mind, if there's not enough power, if Windows 10 is running too laggy, go back into your virtual machine settings. You got to shut your machine down first. Shut your virtual machine down. Once you've shut your virtual machine down, you can change the hardware. Give it another processor core. Give it a little bit more RAM. Play around with it. See if you can see how much horsepower you can give the guest operating system, and see how strong you can make Windows 10. One of the things I'd recommend right away is I definitely recommend that you right click on the screen and change the screen resolution to make it the same size as your actual computer screen. That'll improve your experience dramatically. So this is about it. I'll pause the video recording again, and I'll bring you guys back when I'm on the Windows desktop. And here we are. It wants me to connect to a network. Do I want to allow this PC to be seen by the PCs in the network? No, I really don't. I'm trying to keep this thing in a little closed box, if you will. Like I was saying, to make it the right screen resolution, you just simply right click, say display settings, and then it should give you the option for resolution over here somewhere. So let's see if we can find that thing. We got the right orientation. And let's see if we have any kind of resolution. Don't want to change the size of text. Let's see what we got here. There we go. That's what I wanted to change. Let's see if I can make that a little bit bigger. Let's go to 1366 by 768 and see what that does. Hit apply. That was better, so I'll keep those changes, but I still wanted to get even bigger. So let's go to 1920 by 1080. Hit OK. Hey, now we're talking. But notice it's got a little frame here. You can get rid of that frame by making VMware go full screen, or you can just simply make it just one size below what you're seeing. So like this would work pretty well for what I want to do. You guys can see that's a pretty good fit. That's it. Now play around with Windows 10 as much as you can. And then finally, last but not least, we'll do Linux ISO. And I'll see you guys at the next video.